Hello, my name is Russell Myers. Welcome to Issues Unite. All right, so I'm sure by now you've heard about the bioweapons labs that have been found in Ukraine by Russian forces. And, what Russia obviously didn't know that these existed until they invaded. And now they have said that they are going to publicly publish the evidence that they have found that these weapons labs are being operated by the Ukraine government in conjunction and with the backing of the U.S. government. So they're going to, after their experts examine the documentation, they're going to publish this publicly. And I don't blame them. It's what are they going to do? Turn it just turn it over to the OPCW, Organization for Prevention of Chemical Warfare, which also covers biological warfare. These labs allegedly have samples of, all these weaponized things: anthrax, tularemia, yellow fever, and quite a few others. And at first, I got the impression that it was only one lab. But now I'm getting the impression from what Lavrov was saying that there are at least a dozen of these labs in Ukraine. Of course, the United States reacts with absolutely no surprise. So the U.S. absolutely knew about this. But it's very clear that these labs are not registered with the OPCW. So this is in violation of international law. But this isn't the only way that Ukraine has been violating international law. More on that in a minute. Victoria Nuland, first thing off the bat, says, well, if there's a biological weapons attack, then Russia did it. Well, you're going to say that before it ever happens. Does this make sense to you? Does this make sense at all? If Russia was going to launch a biological weapons attack, what, they're going to wait until all of their forces are in they've got tens of thousands of forces in the country, and they would be exposing their own forces. They're going to wait until millions of people have evacuated, so the biological attack would, not affect anybody, especially not civilians. And they're going to invade Ukraine and use Ukraine's weapons. If they were going to launch a biological weapons attack, wouldn't they have developed their own and use their own biological weapons? Wouldn't this make a bit more sense? No. The idea of Russia coming in and seizing these labs and launching an attack with what they've got in those labs without fully knowing just what they're dealing with, you think that's going to happen? No. Their own forces, would they have vaccinations? These are not things that you've got vaccinations for. These are weaponized organisms. It takes time to produce vaccines against these things so that your own forces wouldn't be affected by them. It takes time to distribute those vaccinations. No, none of this makes sense from what the United States government is trying to claim. All right, so the United States is, of course, denying any involvement with these labs. Well, keep in mind that the United States also denied involvement with the lab in Wuhan. And yet, Fauci was forced to ultimately admit that the United States was indeed funding and the Wuhan lab partially and engaging in gain-of-function research, which is research into chemical or biological weapons. Okay? He can claim otherwise, but gain-of-function means developing biological weapons. So that's what that means. If you add additional functions to the, pathogenesis of an organism, you're making it where it's doing something it wasn't doing before, and that is on purpose. So we've already done this and in other countries and denied it. U.S. Pharmaceutical companies test vaccines, experimental vaccines on human beings in other countries. So yeah, we're absolutely, you can count on it. We are absolutely involved. It's not a question. Anyway, the fact that they're defending this is enough. All right, so this shows that Ukraine has been violating international law. They think that they are an exception to international law. Let me point out that in 2019, according to Oliver Stone, the Ukrainian government was so corrupt and had been so corrupt for many years that it was the least trusted government of any nation on earth in 2019. Anyway, so recently, as well, the Ukrainian military has been posting videos online of their soldiers abusing and humiliating Russian prisoners of war. This is a violation of the Geneva Convention. So, again, Ukraine violating international law. But Russia bad, Russia bad. The humanitarian corridors. Russia has helped to secure several humanitarian corridors out of Ukraine, including from Kiev and areas in western Ukraine. And Ukraine objects to any humanitarian corridors which go to Belarus or lean to Russia. And they will not assist with any of that. They will, yet they claim that Russia is, shelling humanitarian corridors. Why would Russia shell humanitarian corridors and then establish new ones? That makes no sense at all. None of that. Remember, it has been Ukraine that has been attacking the Donbass for 8 years. And the main city in question is Mariupol, which is part of Donbass, but has been occupied by Ukraine for several years now. So who do you think is most likely to attack civilians, you know, as they're trying to evacuate or to shut off, you know, these humanitarian corridors, these evacuation corridors? Who do you think is more likely to do it? Russia or Ukraine? Ukraine has already been doing this. Ukraine has already been violating the laws, international laws on chemical weapons. They're violating the Geneva Convention. I'm not saying that Russia is good and that I absolutely support an invasion. I really feel like they should have done what I expected and gone into Donbass, pulled up, and taken over the Donbass region there. But they found it necessary for whatever reasons, some probably intelligence telling them about chemical weapon, biological weapons labs and things like this. Which eventually, if there was a plan to actually use these biological weapons, luckily it never came to fruition. But the fact that there are at least a dozen labs in Ukraine, that says a lot. Anyway, so always question what you're hearing. Ask if this makes sense. Always ask if this makes sense. I'm still hoping that this is going to be over within a matter of days. And the evidence seems to be there. Ukraine is still refusing to, you know, give any concession at all. So it's really a matter of time. Anyway, share this video. Talk about these subjects. If you can, please donate $1 a month to help expand the channel and the website. And sign up at issuesunite.com. Social media with no corporate or government involvement. And I will catch you in the next one.